Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar. We've got some attendees kind of trickling in, so we're going to give it another minute or two before we get started, but just wanted to go ahead and say hello and do a little tech check. I'll get my screen shared. Tara, I've got on here, I'm trying to click show screen and it says no one can see your screen. Click to start screen sharing, but it's grayed out. I wonder if you need to give me different access.
Okay, let me see here.
Thank you guys for bearing with us as we get our technology straightened out here.
It should just, if you click show, it should just work. Let's see here, hang on.
And do a screen grab real fast of what I'm seeing. Oh, now that worked.
Okay.
But I need to make sure I'm showing the right monitor. Shauna, are you seeing my give back slides?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Last webinar, I was showing some wrong screens, so you guys keep me in line. If I veer off and have the wrong screen showing, keep me straight. All right, well, it's at top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started and may have a few others trickling in as we continue on. First, just want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on your lunch hour to learn more about how GiveBacks has been implemented into school districts in Tennessee. I'll do some introductions here in just a minute to our panelists, but the purpose of today is really to hear from them and hear about their experiences with the various GiveBacks modules and give you guys a chance to ask some questions. So please feel free during the feel free to ask questions, submit questions through your panel over on the right-hand side as you go through, and I'm happy to tee them up and ask some live questions. So if you've had anything burning when it thinks about, any of you guys on the line have either seen a demo of GiveBacks, some of you are existing customers looking to expand your usage of GiveBacks and your different various modules. And then, so if you have any questions around, the change management piece of this, what's worked, what's not worked, this is going to be a very candid, open, honest conversation. So this will be exactly what you guys make of it. So let me get this in slideshow mode and we'll go ahead and jump right in. So today's agenda, I'm going to introduce you guys to Garrett Radin and Taronda Frierson. Garrett from Knox County Schools and Taronda from Metro Nashville Public Schools. And I'll let them tell a little bit about themselves in just a minute. And then we're going to kind of go through their stories. So we're going to set the stage of how they first began using the GiveBacks platform, and what's been neat is to see their story over the past 3 years. What pieces of the platform they've added on over time to get to where they are today. And another kind of neat thing, really, Garrett was one of our first GiveBacks customers on the district side. Of course, we've been in business since 2018, working with parent support organizations and PTAs across the country. But as we navigated into the K-12 world, Garrett actually kind of helped us build some things out. Same with Taronda and her team, since they were kind of early adopters. And we'll be telling you a little more about that here shortly. So that'll kind of set the stage, and then we'll talk through some of the transition. You'll notice I've also invited Shauna Johnson on the call. She is the implementation manager for GiveBacks. So she's going to kind of tell the story of implementation and training and sort of how that worked for Knox County and Metro Nashville, and kind of talk through sort of how we help navigate that. And then the after story. So we'll talk a little bit about how things are going now, and then what it's looked like to really transition and consolidate their tech stack all into one platform. And then we'll wrap up with talking about the future of GiveBacks. We've come a long way in the past 5 years and are really excited about what we have on the horizon. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Sarah Hiddle, and I'm the Director of Sales here at GiveBacks. And now we'll just go through and do some introductions. I'll start with Shauna Johnson, as I said, our District Implementation Specialist. Shauna, if you just want to say a quick little hello.
Hello, I'm excited to be here today, and for those of you that are on the call that I've worked with, I've enjoyed working with each and every one of you, and I look forward to hopefully working with some new faces as we kind of go through, and hopefully what I'll be able to share today will help you guys, understand how the implementation and training process works for GiveBacks.
Thanks, Shauna, very helpful. And then Garrett, I'll turn it over to you, Director of Internal School Funds for Knox County Schools.
Yeah, Garrett Radin, Director of Internal School Funds for Knox County Schools. Been here for about 11 years. Over SSOs, so school support organizations, internal school funds, the receipting software, basically anything for compliance on the financial side, and going on 11 years. Been here.
Awesome, thanks, Garrett. And for those that aren't familiar with Knox County Schools, will you give a quick overview of your number of schools and rough enrollment?
Yeah, we have about 92 schools, 91 schools, 92 schools, about 3 to 5 more on the horizon, about 60,000 students, about 9,000 employees, 16 high schools, 16 middle schools, about 50 or so elementary schools, and a few others type schools. And my department is myself and 4 other wonderful ladies, and that's about it.
Awesome, thanks. I think it's helpful for other districts to kind of know when you guys are speaking of that background. So, all right, Taronda, if you'll introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Taronda Frierson. I'm the Director of School Audit for Metro Nashville Public Schools. Our department basically is the audit team, and we do the same that Garrett department does. I just have a different title. I've been with the district for 29 years. We have 131 schools that we oversee. We have 11,000 employees, and we have 81,000 plus students in our district.
Wonderful, thank you so much. All right, well, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I always like to do a little icebreaker. Those of you that were on webinar of the first webinar of our series, last time it was in October, so we did your favorite Halloween candy. This time we're gonna ease into this with your favorite Thanksgiving dish. I can't believe that this is actually gonna be next week, believe it or not. So let me launch this poll, and just curious for you guys to submit your, I'll say I have to go with green bean casserole. Taronda, what's your favorite?
I would have to say stuffing / dressing.
That's a good one. My grandmother makes the best, I have to say.
I call it
Shauna, what about you?
Mine's a cross between the green bean casserole and dressing. Not the stuffing, but dressing.
That's right.
Oh, it's controversial here.
Yes. Do you call it dressing or do you call it stuffing? That's another whole poll. And then Garrett, what about you?
I'm gonna go with pumpkin pie on the list, but if it's not on the list, I'm gonna go with pineapple casserole.
Yes, I do see that our list doesn't totally match the poll, so we're just keeping it interesting today. But that is our responses. Thank you guys for participating. It looks like pumpkin pie takes the lead, and then close behind that is actually one more person voted, and now we have a tie for mashed potatoes and pumpkin pie. So thank you guys so much for participating. That was a fun little, I'm hungry now that it's lunchtime. All right, so back to the topic at hand here. Just to give a little bit of an overview before we jump in and really spend most of the time hearing from Garrett and Taronda, I did want to set the stage here for those of you that may not have joined our first webinar in the series, where we really demonstrated the consolidated tech stack through the GiveBacks platform. Garrett and Taronda are going to be talking today about their journey through these different modules. We have some districts that would rather start with one module and then add on as they feel comfortable, and they really start with kind of what's their biggest pain point, and then just grow the product from there. We have other school districts that jump in with 2 feet and they're like, let's go, and we'll just roll out all the modules at one time. We really work with each district to customize, and this is part of Shauna's job, really customize what each district's implementation looks like, because they're all different, they're all unique. Every district has different needs. So just keep that in mind when we hear Garrett and Taronda's stories today. Yours may be similar, they may be a little bit different, but we do customize everything to meet those needs of each district. So the modules that we're going to talk through today is the Parent Support Organization Oversight, and that we may refer to as, you may hear us say SSO, or School Support Organization. What we mean by that are booster clubs, PTOs, PTAs, alumni associations, those type of 501c3 groups that kind of sit outside the school. We're also going to talk about fundraising management, the approval workflows for fundraisers, and then the ability to actually run fundraisers through the GiveBack system. We'll talk about our 2 newest modules, which are ticketed events and student fees, which actually rolled out this past July. And then we also have our online store and point of sale. So that's all of the different modules that we'll talk through here today. I do like to give Garrett a little bit of kudos. Our student fees and ticketed events are 2 newest modules. Garrett really kind of gently encouraged GiveBacks to really look to build out those modules. And I laugh because I thought this was not possible to have been able to develop student fees in such short order. But we really got kind of gently nudged in that direction, and it's been wonderful, and so excited that we were able to officially roll those 2 modules out as of July. And Garrett will talk a little bit more about those as we go through. So just set the stage there. That is our all-in-one platform that we'll be talking through today. When we think about setting the stage, this is where I want to hear from you guys. So Taronda, I'll start with you. If you'll just tell us about your GiveBack story, where it began 3 years ago, how you've progressed through, and where you're sitting today.
Yes. So with our district, we had a manual process for our SSOs. And so it was very tedious. We had a lot of paperwork going on. We had a lot of emailing, attachments. So we just wanted to find a better way to kind of streamline that process, make it better not only for our parent groups, but make it better for our office as well, and helping us to track the registration documents, and just making sure we were that we had our ducks in a row when it came to the parent organizations being in compliance with the law. So our journey with GiveBacks was, we started with the parent org oversight platform, and it actually turned out to be awesome. Like, that is, like, it has made my life so much easier. So with that platform, I'm able to not only provide the parent organizations with guidance on what they need to submit, and it just kind of works through a workflow process for me, but it just helps me keep track of the documents. It also helps them keep track of their documents. It gives me a report of when things are completed, so that I can compile my list and make sure I have all the orgs that are active for the school year.
Taronda, with that, tell the group, how were you doing it before GiveBacks? What did that look like, and how long did the process take, and what were some of the kind of pain points?
So basically, we just kind of gave them like a list of documents that they needed to submit for the purpose of being compliant with the law in Tennessee. And so they would, we just kind of had a dedicated email address in our district that I solely managed myself. And I would have to basically go through like all their emails to try to review their documents, and then, try to keep track of it. And I had an Excel spreadsheet to make sure I had everything checked off. so that I could say, okay, this group is good to go and active for the school year. So it was just it was a lot. That was a big pain point for me because I do have to kind of do that process by myself. So to try to keep track of all those documents, that's a lot.
No. Glad we were able to come in there and provide some assistance for you. So then once you got that piece up and running, where did you transition to next through the GiveBacks modules?
So once we did that, well, I'm gonna give kudos to Knox County because we actually kind of, went to see what they were doing. But we did end up reaching out to you guys, of course, and we had 2 nights that we did train our parent group on the platform, so that they would be familiar with it and know how to use it. We also, and this was prior to registration, and then we actually did some training, of course, with my staff, just so they could answer questions along with the GiveBacks team and myself. And then once we did that, we just, every year I do like a greeting letter to our SSOs, telling them that they need to go to GiveBacks, and it tells them the documents that they need to be uploading in the system, and then they'll see the actual documents in GiveBacks. I also have a second letter that I use for new SSOs because they are not, they do not have access to the system just yet, but I tell them how they need to do training with Shauna first, so that they can get access to the system. And then once they go through that process, everybody submits their registration documents. It comes to me. Some of them go to the principal too through a workflow process through GiveBacks and then come to me. And once that's completed, the system lets me know that. I run a report. I have my list of SSOs, and then once registration is complete, then I compile my list to put on our website.
Wonderful, thank you. We got a couple questions in here. Some of these I can answer. So would support groups like booster clubs use this platform? And yes, absolutely. So the way the GiveBacks platform is built is in a hierarchy. So your district will sit at the very top, and then they have visibility into everything kind of happening below. Then each of your schools will have a site for GiveBacks. Underneath each school, your support organizations will have their own individual site. Now, their money will be totally separate, keeping the separation of church and state there. Their money will flow to their own separate bank account managed by their treasurer, versus if a school is using the GiveBacks platform, their dollars will flow through to the school's bank account. So great question. And there's actually no charge for these support groups to have licenses. It's unlimited. The number of licenses, I think, Garrett, it's Bearden High School that has like 20 SSOs for their high school. So I'm like, some schools have one, some schools have a ton. So it's as many or as few as you have. One question, Taronda, for you that someone's asking, what documents are needed from the SSOs? I'm not sure if this is needed in Tennessee and not all states. So I'll start that and then turn it to you, Taronda. So Tennessee and South Carolina currently are 2 states that we're aware of that have legislation passed that require these organizations to register annually with the district. And we're starting to see trends of that happening in other states. But Taronda, I'll let you answer the question about what specific documents you have your orgs turn in.
So let me preference too. So we do have a law in Tennessee, the School Support Organization Financial Accountability Act, that you guys can look up. It'll actually tell you, what is required for the school support organizations to submit. Some of our districts in Tennessee, we may require additional documents depending on our own districts. So basically the main thing is they have to submit their certificate of existence and show their status as a nonprofit organization or foundation. And then they do have to submit information on the officers. And they also have to submit their Tennessee Annual Corporation Report that they get from the Secretary of State's office and their bylaws. So our district also, we provide a like an assessment. So we do like a PowerPoint for them, giving them information regarding the law. They have to take an assessment afterwards and complete it, so that is part of our registration process for our district. So like I said, Garrett may do something different. He may have some additional things that he may ask for that I don't, or I may ask for some things that he may not ask for.
Okay. Yeah, Garrett, you want to add on to that, or is that a similar, or do you have anything extra?
Yeah, we definitely use the give back system for all of this as well. And I ditto what Taronda said. I mean, Taronda, I feel like has a lot stronger way of doing it, but not in the fact that she is harder on them, but that she's just got a more simplistic path is what I would say. So I do like her processes overall, and I've taken notes likewise back and forth between us and Metro Nash and even Hamilton County. I've used some things that I've found that they do. But overall, no, nothing's really that different. We dumb it down to about 4 items. We train every year, 3 dates in the summer, and then I'll do individualized trainings, like for the larger schools that Sarah mentioned, that we have about 2 or 3 high schools that have about 18 SSOs each. And so we'll do more isolated training for them just to keep things above board. But overall, I review the financials. We do an SSO information packet that tells us about the officers, the annual registration that Taronda was talking about. The GiveBacks platform is obviously awesome for that. So that's what we use. But yeah, nothing really new and above what Taronda said.
Yeah, and I want to mention that financial report. I didn't mention that is a requirement. They do have to do that in Tennessee. They have to submit a financial report to us.
Yeah, for us in Knox County, I don't audit it because we can't officially audit. Unless you're following an audit program, you can't audit things. So what we do is we monitor those. So I just do a bank statement review and a financial statement review is how I kind of check that box. And if I flag things, then typically it's thanks for letting us know. These are things that you need to fix moving forward. And we just flag it unless it's criminal. Obviously, then we have to do something about it.
Yeah, agree, Garrett. Another thing that we use it for is, and I know Sarah will get into this a little bit later, but we do use givebacks with the SSO platform to approve SSO fundraisers. So because of us having that responsibility, we use our financial reports in that way. So we make sure that if we see any revenue come in, that we also had a fundraiser form in place. And if not, like Garrett said, we will reach out to those SSOs to kind of have a conversation with them about them following the policies of the district.
Yep, that's great.
I was trying
to hear me okay?
Yeah, Sarah, you're not frozen anymore. You disappeared for a second, and I was like, I was wondering where you went. So then I was trying to
actually send y'all a text. My internet went out. I am so sorry. Hopefully that does not happen again.
And you didn't miss a beat. They filled in the whole time you were gone. So
yeah. We covered for you so well that you really didn't need to have the title on yourself.
I know, right?
Taronda, if you'll go through now what modules you moved through next. You went out for RFP for fundraising, I believe, then it was point of sale, then ticketing. So just kind of a high level of kind of how you progressed through.
Okay, so after we did the SSO platform, our district does do an RFP for crowdfunding. And so we did that at the beginning of the school year, and we got that, well, GiveBacks, and we have SnapRay. So we have 2 crowdfunding vendors, but GiveBacks is one of our crowdfunding vendors for fundraising for our schools. And then we went to a RFP for concessions. And so we used the point of sale module for concessions this school year. And last but not least, our athletic team just did an RFP for ticketed events, and GiveBacks won that as well. So they are our all-around partner for Metro Nashville Public Schools for all these different platforms. And they work really well with our schools. I will say with the fundraising platform and the concessions and ticketed events, what was helpful is the fact that we did do the SSO platform first. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, when they set up the platform for school support organizations, they set up the schools first. So they had like a school profile, and then under each school, there's a SSO profile. And that was helpful to us as we went to fundraising and concessions and ticketed events because the schools were already set up. So that was a plus, and all Shauna had to do was help us set up our Stripe information when our schools were ready to get started with training for those modules.
Yes, and that worked out well because as you add those modules, as Sarah said, not everybody starts out with everything. And so it's been kind of nice working with you guys, both of you, because once you set up those Stripe accounts and things like that, it's been easy to add those additional modules on. So essentially, really the bulk of what we've had to do when we add those additional modules is just doing the training because we have a lot of the setup already completed. And Garrett, I know that you guys kind of worked similarly. You started out with the SSO compliance and then started moving your schools over to fundraising and the online store and things like that as well.
Yeah, we did this very similar to Toronto. We started out with the SSO module. Actually, if you zoom out a second, I started noticing it through our internal school funds audit that when I reviewed the financial statements for each school, that PTAs and PTOs and all of those, I think mainly it was PTA, PTSAs, were using MemberHub, which was, GiveBack's original, I guess, DBA. And I started asking questions about that in early, I guess, 2019, 2020. And then when COVID hit, I just took the approach of we needed to streamline something that for about 10 years, I guess it's okay to speak about, but for about, I guess when I took this job back in 2015, I was the auditor for the school district and just wanted to consolidate as much as I can. So through the help of functionally every department in our school system, the IT, public affairs, we just tried to start kind of whittling down the softwares that we use to consolidate, not necessarily the back end module. So we still want the admin side of the software to be used if that department wants to use it. I don't have any desire to take on that job or that task, but the main task was to just consolidate it for consumers. And so I know through today, I think Sarah and Shauna will want me to give you kind of some like how are we doing, where are we at type stats, and I'll share those with you. Some are good, some are just basic, but at the end of the day, the concept here was we took what Toronto's saying as well and bridged that gap into fundraising. We unfortunately do not have a sole source vendor for fundraising, meaning we don't only use givebacks. That's what I mean by that. We use a couple other companies. So I don't love that because I think Toronto's right how Metro Nash does it, that you should only have one vendor. However, that can be very opinionated conversation for districts. And so if you're a smaller one, I think, definitely take Toronto's advice there and do what that Metro Nash has done. For a larger one, if Hamilton's on here or Sumner County, Tennessee, or any school district with, I would say more than 10 or so schools, I would suggest you go into the mindset of one vendor for everything and being exclusive. But I understand that it can be very political in that environment. But I will tell you there's huge incentives, and I'll get to those stats later on what I could prove with it. But then now we use, of course, all the other platforms as well that Sarah's mentioned. We use everything that GiveBacks has.
And I wanted to clarify a little bit on my end with the RP regarding crowdfunding for our district. So we do have other fundraising vendors, but our schools can't use online fundraising with anybody but GiveBacks and SnapRaise. Those are the only two they can do online fundraising for. But they can do like the brochure sales and things of that nature. They just can't do any other online fundraising.
Yeah. Thanks, Toronto. Hey guys, I'm back. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I joined from my phone, so hopefully I'll have no issues here. Yes, thank you so much for that. Someone just asked a question around the fundraising module. Do you take on the fees or do you put that on the people who are donating? And interestingly, Toronto and Garrett both handle that differently. Garrett in Knox County Schools absorbs those fees and covers those costs as a district. And then Toronto, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have the donors absorb those transaction fees. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Hopefully that's helpful out there for those that were asking that question. So Garrett, as far as you transitioning through the modules, you started with school support organization oversight. Then at the same time, you did the fundraiser management. You did the fundraiser approval workflows for both the schools and the support organizations at the same time. And then I was trying to remember back to your story, kind of what came next. And I think it was the point of sale. Is that sort of where we landed next and then moved into the store, student fees and ticketing?
Yeah, it was SSOs, fundraising. I think the store and the point of sale were probably hand in hand. Then we kind of tabled point of sale because Givebacks was building more and more features at the time. And then so we kind of focused more on the store side. The store side led into the ticketing concept being a large need rather than want. And then the ticketing then evolved into school fees because of the school store and because of the point of sale. So it was, if you followed that, it was kind of like what most of you, if your roles are like us, like myself or Taronda's, or maybe you're the CFO of your school district, or even like an IT, high up IT person, you probably see what Taronda and I are specifically saying, and obviously what Sarah and Shauna and the Givebacks team is trying to sell as their business model, which is great. To their point and to our point, that's where you'll find that there's a need there to consolidate, and that's been kind of the whole point of doing this, and it's worked. Like, for what it's worth, it's worked. Even Taronda's way, I'm sure she would tell you it's worked, even doing it with the fees, the passing them on. We kind of just took advantage of a bunch of different situations in Knox County schools, just with a lot of bad things and good things happening, and we haven't looked back. I think revenue has been booming, and this is set to be our best year since I've been here. Go ahead.
That's great. Thanks, Garrett. I think that's helpful background for clarification. I want to transition now over into talking through implementation and training. I know a lot of times I hear from new districts, their biggest concern is change management. And then secondly, my bookkeepers, they have so much on their plates. I'm so nervous to throw more at them. So just kind of curious, I'm going to let Shauna kind of go first and explain how Givebacks goes through the implementation and training, and then kind of want to ask a few follow-up questions there to you guys, Taronda and Garrett. But Shauna, if you'll kind of start first and go through, as Givebacks, what do we do to ensure a smooth implementation and training process?
Yeah, for sure. So Sarah's kind of brought up our plan, or my plan, that I use when I work with you guys on implementation and training. And of course, the first phase is when Sarah or her team is turning you guys over to me, so that I can work with you on gathering information. We call it facilitating the kickoff call. So during that call, I'll ask a lot of questions, but essentially we'll go over how you want to use Givebacks. How do you want to start? Because as Sarah mentioned before, sometimes you might be starting with one thing, but then a lot of times as we work through the project, we may add on some features, or we may say, hey, let's take a step back and let's work on this first. Because, the implementation timeline, really, I work with you guys, and it also depends on the time of year that it is, how busy you guys are. And so what I do is I try to work with you to make sure that we're going on a timeline that works best for you, because we don't want to overwhelm everyone. But when we come into that kickoff call, I try to have a lot of, or as much information as I can, so that takes some of that burden off of you. So, I've usually already researched, what schools you have and things like that, so that that just kind of makes the data gathering that you need to provide to me a little less. I'm just trying to take some things off your plate. So for that first phase, it'll be just typically you guys confirming or sharing some data, because I will need things like users and things like that, just depending on how you're using the system. But we'll get us a timeline together of when we want to have this rolled out and ready to go. And then once we confirm all of the data, then phase 2 is really for me. And so that's for me to go in, get your site set up, make sure if you're using us for compliance, I'm going to build out your forms, so that you have those automated approval processes already in place on those forms. Of course, we're going to look at those and confirm that they are the way that you want them. But that phase 2 is really work for me. And then we move into phase 3, which is the training and the onboarding. And so with that, we're going to take all of the different stakeholders that are involved with the project, just depending on how you're rolling out. Are we rolling out to those SSOs, those parent organizations, and maybe your schools are involved in the approval process, as Taronda mentioned earlier. Sometimes some of the things go through the principal before they make it over to the district level. So we're going to make sure, first of all, that you guys at the district level are trained, and then we're going to dig deeper into the school and the parent organization or SSO training. And that's where we work with you guys to customize that training, just depending. For Taronda and Garrett both, we've done a good mixture of virtual training via Zoom and coming on site, because we do see the benefits of coming on site and getting a group together. Actually, this summer, I was in Knox County working with Garrett's schools and their SSOs. We were able to kind of coordinate some training so that they kind of coincided. I think one day I started in the morning at 8 o'clock and we finished about 7 or 8 o'clock that night with training those parent organizations. And then just as recently as last month, I was in Nashville to work with a group, Taronda and them at their district. They rolled out ticketed events. And we could see the value with going there and working with their athletic directors on training them on how to set up their ticketed events, and actually staying there and having a working session where we worked on getting everything set up and ready to go for this upcoming winter sports season with basketball and things like that starting. So we kind of work with you guys on what's going to work best. Do we need to do a virtual training? Do we need to come on site? And so we customize the different training based on who we're training, what you think will work best for your group, so that everybody gets the benefits. We want them to walk away from givebacks feeling confident and being able to use it. And then after we do initially a group session, then what's so great about givebacks is each district and schools and your SSOs are assigned their own specific customer support manager or customer success manager. And so after we do the training, we're going to continue to support your schools and your parent organizations. So they'll have one-on-one sessions that they can book with their customer success manager kind of after I've got that initial training done and we feel like we're in a good place. Then their CSM is going to come in and support them. And that's not a one and done. I like to say it's the beginning of the relationship with your schools and your SSOs. We continue to work with them to support them as they need that help moving forward. That was a lot, I know.
Great. No, it's great. That's great. Thank you for that, Shauna.
Yes.
Someone from the audience asked, Garrett, when did Garrett and Taronda start their initial implementation? And if I'm remembering right, they were both, Garrett may have been a little bit in late 2022, and then really both of them kind of full force went on in early 2023, and then have been adding modules since. Most recently, Metro Nash added in ticketed events, as Shauna said, and then most recently, Knox County also added in ticketed events and student fees this past summer. So just to answer that question. Let's see, I want to ask Taronda and Garrett, you guys, a couple of questions as it relates to implementation and training. One thing that I often hear is, how do I get my staff on board? And I'm just curious your different thoughts and perspectives on that. Taronda, if you want to go first.
Sure. So our thing here in our district is, change is change and people are not going to like it, but we have to get on board with it. So we have to kind of soften it a little bit, to say, hey, tell them, I think the biggest thing is telling them the benefits of the change. It's going to help, the teachers not have a lot of paperwork to fill out, or athletic staff members paperwork, to be filled out. It's going to help you to not have to worry about having startup change or, trying to handle cash at a gate or a concession stand. So we just try to give them the benefits of why we're changing and hope that they'll look at it from that perspective, like, oh, this is going to help me. It's going to help you as the bookkeeper to not have to handle so much cash, right? And it's also helping the district mitigate risk and not you know, have a lot of things going on that shouldn't be going on with cash handling. And it also reduces audit findings for us. So we love that, right? And it helps the auditors too. It helps the auditors too. So I will throw that in there. But yeah, we just try to go with, you know, explaining to them the benefits of the change. And I think once they understand the why behind why we're changing it, then that kind of helps them take it on and kind of buy into you know, what we're doing. And then also, as they said, once they actually see the actual software and how user friendly it is, then that also makes them feel a little bit better.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that, Taronda. I know we often hear there's always going to be one or two or a handful of folks that are just not wanting to change. And I know Shauna and her team take it personally that they're going to win those people over. They're like, I will get that person to be my buddy by the end of this. And typically she does do a really good job with that. So thanks for that.
And
Garrett,
I was going to say,
go ahead, Shauna.
I was just going to say, and just something else that I like to throw in there when I'm working with your schools and your SSOs is I've walked in their shoes. And I guess I probably should have told you guys that during my introduction, but I'm not very good at these types of things. But I also worked in a school for 8 years. So really, when I train and I work with them, I let them know that I've walked in their shoes. I've been on the SSO, you know, PTO boards and worked the concession stands. So we try anytime we're working with someone, we try to let them know that we've been in their shoes, and that's why we want to help them and we want to make things easier. So as Taronda said, you know, we try to outline the benefits of, you know, the change is hard, but it's going to help you in the long run. So
thanks for that. And then Garrett, anything you want to add to that, or any advice that you might want to give another district that's considering making a change?
So I personally like the rip the Band-Aid off approach. Personally, I guess that's my MO. If I'm going to change something, I want to change it, and I want to change it to the fullest extent of what it can be done. One change, not 17. That's coming from a guy that every year I've been in Knox County schools, I've had to change something. So I've functionally changed something every year for 11 years. So I don't love that MO that I've received, kind of like my mantra at this point, but I will tell you, if you're in a district and you're hearing this webinar, or if you're in mine, sorry, and you know, just overall, to me, the greatest change that you can do in this industry is to consolidate. So if there's 85 different products that you're using, really understand why you're using them. Like, and you may have to keep them, but I think each one of these people on the call, even the ones like even Givebacks, they never once along the line wanted to sell me this product. They were just saying, how could we make it better? And then they did it. They didn't sell it first, and it didn't work. So the point I would just try to tell you guys, and even any people from Knox County they're on, Taronda, I've met a lot of her folks. You know, to me, the easiest way to fix this problem is to just change it, and change as many dominoes as you can at one time. Even though it sounds like a job, it's going to be worth it. I mean, this year, if it's okay, I'll go into kind of this summer. This summer, we changed so much in Knox County schools, so much in a short amount of time. And we didn't really give it a lot of time. Like, we didn't have a lot of time for other reasons. And let's just say that we switched accounting softwares, receiving softwares, ticketing, and school fee management all in 4 to 6 weeks. Now, it was being built, like Sarah alluded to, for a little bit longer than that. Just to give back some credit, they did it in about 3 months. But really and truly, it was, you know, buying in IT. Like, is there anything you see here? You know, public affairs, can you help me market this? And to say it went smooth, no, I wouldn't lie to you. It didn't go that smooth, but it would not Givebacks. It was on that it's changed, like Taronda alluded to. People in general don't like that, and you just have to do what's right. So in our roles, I know I can speak for Taronda and I specifically, it's our fiduciary responsibility. It's what we are employed to do. So, you know, in my district, we saved a ton of money this summer changing. And then now for the schools, you know, again, we'll get to that here in a minute, but we've made a ton of money, more than what we've had in the past years by doing this change. So it already is showing dividends for our schools. And then the rest, it should work itself out. You know, Sarah's team is good. Shauna, Katie, Nicole, they're all great at selling that product. So.
And if before you move on, Sarah, if I could I want to shout out Shauna because I know she's the one that spoke about the implementation and her team working with our different districts, but so they can hear it directly from the customer too. Like Shauna and her team are awesome. She is like a superhero to us.
Yeah, no joke, you are.
Yeah, she really is. She really is. And she makes the implementation process very easy for everybody. Like they said before, we did have to tailor the training depending on the platform. So like for instance, we just did our ticketed events. So we did do a virtual training for our bookkeepers, but we did an in-person training for the athletic directors because they were going to be the ones to actually set the ticketing events up and be scanning to redeem the tickets. So we felt like it was best for them to have that in-person training so they would feel really comfortable with what they were doing versus the bookkeeper who may just be doing like the reporting piece and the count piece, so they didn't really need to be in person. Plus our bookkeepers already had in-person training in the summer when we did our POS concessions training. Shauna, she came this summer too with our schools to do a training with our athletic directors and bookkeepers. So they're really great about, like she said, tailoring it to whatever it is that you need to train your staff or whoever needs to do what in their role.
Thank you, Taronda. I love working with you guys too.
I was going to say thank you for shouting out Shauna because she really is an unsung hero oftentimes, yes. But she makes it all happen. So thanks for calling that out. Just thinking now kind of about you guys are on the other side of this. Taronda, you still may have a few more features or modules you may move into, but Garrett, you've pretty much done it all. So you're kind of on the other side of this and just thinking about the after story. And I know you touched on this a little bit, but you said something about an increase in revenue. Can you talk a little bit more about why do you think that is and sort of if you have any numbers or statistics around that?
Yeah, so plenty of books written about all this stuff. I won't quote them. I do kind of nerd out in some books occasionally now that I'm not playing sports anymore. But so when it all came down to it, the concept here was when we wanted to consolidate the systems, we had to look at the systems themselves and what was needed on the admin side. Well, I'm not in that department or this department, right? I'm in the finance department. So I don't want to mess with how the admin use their system in various departments. That means, IT, food service, facility use, whatever it might be, to just name a few, but like whatever their software they're using, just to try to consolidate what we could. Because we were going to try to incentivize the efficiency / effectiveness of that tool, which is why Knox County Schools pays for the fees on the parents' behalf. So for example, when you go use a fundraising vendor and they use 30%, or take their 30% or 10% or 5%, whatever it is, the school's getting the full amount. So parents can, really be kind of blessed there that yes, taxpayer revenue is still paying for that, but at the end of the day, it's not isolating or hindering a school's ability to fundraise in an effective manner, which is right in line with Taronda and I's job, right? We're trying to keep compliance, make sure people aren't, using the Cash App or anything like that to steal our money, fraud, waste, and abuse.com. Basically, I mean, that's just, the name of the game in the world we live in. So to consolidate all those things, to give you the stats, and you can look up our financials on the comptroller's website for Tennessee, Knox County Schools, internal school funds, I believe is the header under reports. And our revenue went up. I'll just give you generic rounded numbers, so don't quote me here, but basically this FY25 revenue for Knox County Schools was around 25 million in total revenue for about 92 schools. We'll call it 90 for conversation's sake. And last year we are the financial statements aren't totally produced yet for FY25. Let me say that. Sorry, I said it backwards. 24. FY24 was 25 million. FY25, which is the year that's being audited, they'll be released here in about 2 months. Right now, we're looking at about 28 million, 29 million that's going to be reflected in that financial statement report. All right, so that's about a $4 million growth. Well, this year, we're about $1 million ahead of that number. $1.3 million something like that. So 1.3 million. Well, why, Garrett? So I looked into that for my higher ups in Knox County Schools and for board members, just for the public. Like, is this working? Because I needed to know, right? Givebacks wanted to know, is this working? And what we can tell right now is that if the year finishes out the way it's headed, we'll finish about $1 million, $1.5 million ahead of last year. But the biggest thing is that we consolidated how parents pay for fees. Now they pay it in one checkout rather than 80 different checkouts. So because we did that, we now consolidated how much money Knox County Schools, meaning taxpayers, pay for that service, right? Because we do take it on. So the larger the cart, Visa, MasterCard rules, then the cheaper the money, like the cheaper the fee, the processing fee. So right now, that's what we're doing. So overall, I mean, I hate giving away all those stats that fast because there's just so much to the story, but that's how simple it is. We consolidated everything in and we're not even done. There's still probably, I don't know where the year's going to end, but I guarantee you we're still going to collect roughly 3 to 7 million in cash and our check. And that's not even our booster clubs using it, right? Like Sarah and Shauna doing their job, getting all of our booster clubs and school support organizations using this software instead of another software, they'll make even more money. And so I guess the final kind of stat there is just to clarify everything is about 3.5 million growth since year over year from using givebacks. And that could be kind of attributed to consolidating what people are using and the parents, right? Meaning, does a parent go to 3 different websites to pay for something? Instead of having to do that, they just go to one place now in the Givebacks app. And that doesn't even take into account anything that's on the horizon, meaning any more SSOs that Shauna gets in their ear and says, hey, use this. And then because of that, they see a t-shirt that's for sale at the school. And so they buy the t-shirt when they give the donation of $10, right? Those are just mass things that, my wife's a basketball coach, I'm a sports person. These clubs and classes and athletic programs, they need that type of revenue, and you get it through just marketing of your product. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Garrett. And for those out there that aren't aware, we have an app so that as a parent, when you log into the app, you're going to be able to see if your student or students have fees associated with their account. You're going to then see all the fundraisers that are going live at your school, your kid's school or schools. So when you're in there, paying a student fee, you might also see the fundraiser that's running and then add that to your cart as well. Plus you're going, well, we're going to go to the game this weekend anyways. Let's add the athletic tickets in there. And then you can check out, with the singular checkout. So I think that is one thing that we do hear a lot, is that parents are really thankful they don't have to have nearly as many logins, as they did before. So thanks for sharing that. Go ahead.
And Sarah, sorry, just another shameless plug though. One thing that to me doesn't get enough attention is Shop to Give. I mean, that's the other part of y'all's product is on the app, and my wife and I use that. I mean, when we're buying Christmas stuff right now, we bought a couple things this past weekend. On the website, the genie pops up. It's just you opt into it and you get 2% cash back, 7.7%, something like that, right? Like that money goes straight back to your school. So that's another, for our district alone, the simple math would be that's like $1.5 million in free money. So another piece of why that app is so important. So.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I forgot to mention that earlier. And those that aren't aware, it's basically a rewards cashback program where you can, with making everyday purchases, the merchants will donate either cash back to your cause, meaning what school you associate with, or we're rolling out, and someone asked in the chat earlier about new modules we're rolling out, and one of them is called Givebacks Rewards. So if a parent wants to save their cash back in their Givebacks wallet, they can actually use that cash to pay for school fees, donate through certain fundraisers, or they can use it anywhere on the app, buy a ticket to the football game by using that free money, or just simply flowing it right back to the school. So I know, Garrett, I'm the same way. I just ordered some Christmas cards, and Snapfish is one of them that's on there for cash back. So I'm getting money back for my kids' middle school as well. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And I know I'm watching the clock here. We've got about 7 more minutes. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but really, you know, the main purpose of today's call is just understanding why one platform is so beneficial, not only for the parents, but also for the bookkeepers, and then also up at the top at the district level. You know, being able to have that visibility, and what Taronda mentioned about less audit findings, tighter audit controls there, being able to see all of the flow of funds. I know one thing that we hear often that scares and keeps our finance officers up at night are the PayPals, the Venmos, that a lot of these teachers are doing just to help plug the gap of budgets. You know, they're asking for things, you know, to help do their job. But if you don't give them a safe and secure way to raise these funds, they're going to figure out how to do it. So it's better to have a platform that you can guarantee those dollars are routing where they're supposed to route and tag to the correct GL account. I don't know, Taronda or Garrett, if either of you want to add on anything to that thought.
I mean, well, I'll say this: it's not going to 100% stop people from doing what they're going to do if they want to really do it. But to Sarah's point, I think that's one reason why we do our RFP for crowdfunding, number one, because yes, we do want to give them the option to have a way to accept funds online in the appropriate way through a district authorized platform. We pretty much communicate that multiple times, because we do still see staff members that still, you know, want to use Cash App and Venmo. So we constantly have to put that in our principal connection. We constantly send messages to our principals about sending these messages to your staff to let them know what the district, the authorized district platforms are that staff members should be using. And yeah, I mean, you just need to, you know, buckle down on having like a one particular platform that you can at least provide to your staff so that they can have an appropriate platform to use.
Yeah, I'll just ditto exactly. Yeah, I'll ditto exactly what Taronda said. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what y'all saw is what Givebacks alluded to already. Is that's why I know I did. I'm sure Taronda did. Just peppering Givebacks left and right. Like, Sarah, we need this, or Shauna, we need this, we need that, or we need this. And it might just be once a week, once a month with, hey, this is enhancement request, enhancement request, enhancement request. But the reality is those are the things that Taronda is mentioning. Like, we have to have certain things so that when we're not getting on to someone, we're teaching them have a better practice, right? Look, you're going from point A to point B, but you're going to C first. And then, or maybe it's opposite. Maybe the people are saying, look, Venmo is easier. That's why we're using it. Okay, well then tell Givebacks that. Like, tell the vendor that, look, this is what's going on. This is why we need it streamlined. So please make a more efficient way in the app to pay. And honestly, guys, like, just to toot their horn again, the ticketing thing, the ticketing platform, we had that live, right? I mean, Sarah and Sean will tell you, we had that live, I think before most people even had it in like this beta version. And the first night, I won't say it any different than what it was. It was rough, but it was also fixed in 8 hours. So 8 hours later, we did it again. I guess it was about 12 hours, to be honest, but we tested it about 8 hours later, and it worked flawless. Like, we made more money in a short amount of time. At one point, there was 200 and something people, and I felt like a kid in a candy store, and we were getting them so fast in the gate for our jamboree, and it was insanely fast to get people in, look up their last name if they were doing the little bobble where they can't find their receipt. You know, I don't know what to do with my hands, like Ricky Bobby or something. But, you know, it was just at the end of the day, you had moments like that where you have to understand that you're building something, and it's not going to work perfect the first year, maybe not in the first day. Sorry, I shouldn't have said year, first day. But at the end of the day, it will be. And that's where we're at. Like I think we're the shining light to that, as since we're using everything. As at this point, I can't look and tell you that it doesn't work. If you'd asked me 4 months ago, I'd say this was rough, but it was also a work in progress, and we didn't have enough time. So if you're really budgeting time and you're talking to Shauna about your ETAs and when you need to push through with something, then you're going to be fine. Sorry, I'm talking so much.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, everybody needs to thank Garrett because he put Knox County through this first. So any of those bumps
You're
and
welcome.
bruises, his team's already kind of like done that, and we fixed everything. And so, yeah, that worked out well for everybody else. Taronda, what were you going to say?
Well, two things. Yes, clap to Gary, because I'm not going to lie. I like to wait on Garrett to try things first because he's not scared. And the second thing is, I would say I agree. So those of you who are seeking to possibly use GiveBacks or any other platform for that matter, but to use GiveBacks, we know that it works. We've tried all the different platforms. It's working great for our districts. There are going to be some pain points. You're going to have, to the point of the question that came earlier, you're going to have people that are going to, even when you implement it, they're going to complain and gripe about things because they just don't like it. They just don't want to change. So hopefully you'll get the support from, your leadership at the district, and you already have, like I said, your benefits and your why behind why you made the change. Stick with that and don't give in to the gripes and complaints that you hear, because it really does work and it makes everything better, not just for not just from a software standpoint, but for the staff members at the school and for people at the district that are working, that have the roles to work with these responsibilities to make sure that we're in compliance and doing what we need to do.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, I think that kind of wraps us up very nicely. I just want to thank you both so much. It's so much better for other school district leaders to hear from their peers about how things work. We can talk about it all day long, but it means so much more coming from a fellow peer. So appreciate you guys being willing to be on our panel. And we touched quickly on the future at GiveBacks. We're constantly growing, iterating, adding new things. We love hearing enhancement ideas, and we truly take those to heart. As you can see, we've added in so many over the past year or so and continue to do that. One thing that's rolling out in January is a direct integration with an activity fund accounting solution called Track Your Funds. So Garrett has been using that since July, and we're now going to automate the deposits there. So all of those automatic deposits flowing into GiveBacks will post into Track Your Funds. Garrett, are you happy about that?
Just a little bit.
Life just a little bit. So if you want to learn more about that, so you can really have a one-stop shop for everything under one umbrella, happy to talk through more about that. And then just wanted to kind of leave here on a list of our growing list of loyal partners. And we're so excited how many different states that we're in. We really, as you can see, started in Tennessee and have just expanded so much beyond that, and are really excited about just the growth out there and how we're able to help school districts really across the country. And I know there were a couple other questions. Someone just asked, can you share the different fees that are associated with the different modules? And Elizabeth, happy to do that. We'll follow up with an email, and I can send all of that in writing. But just to give you a quick overview, the store is at 3.95% plus 59 cents. And then the fundraising module has two different versions, whether you want to do a tip model or a platform, and we can follow up with that. But I do know that they're much less than Snap Raise, Vertical Raise, Boosterthon, those other ones that are out there. So happy to share those with you. And happy to share this recording if you guys want to share this out with folks in your district that may not have been able to join. But again, thank you for your time, and please reach out with any questions that continue to come up. Have a wonderful day and a happy Thanksgiving.
See you guys.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye, y'all.
Bye.